Sister Yael, who I've known for many years. And so I offer this prayer, especially remembering her and all those beloved ones who surround her in the spiritual world to come, which surround us close in our closest vein. Potent, Creator of the universe, most beloved one. Oh, ancient one, we call upon your holy power at this time. And all our ancestors, past, present, future, close to our closest vein, to join us here this night as we celebrate the good things that you've given us. We celebrate courage, we celebrate truthfulness, integrity, and all those things which are good to our human family. We give thanksgiving. We honor, we respect all the tribes and nations east from where comes the red sunrise. We ask that they come together in unity and harmony and peace upon this Mother Earth. We call upon all the tribes and nations of the south where comes new life. They may come together in unity and harmony and peace. And all the tribes and nations of the west, where comes thunder, lightning, and rain. We call upon all those tribes and nations to come together in unity and harmony and peace. The north, from where comes the white snow, the purifying north winds, to purify our hearts and minds, to come together in unity and harmony and peace. We might unify our human family in war, begin peace on earth by 2030. And Creator of all the good things, we give thanksgiving to all the masculine qualities of life. We also ask forgiveness for those qualities that have brought us to this place we find ourselves where we're being challenged in many, many different ways. Even very survival is being challenged. But we humble ourselves before Mother Earth and her representative, our beloved humankind. We ask that we might look to this guidance that these qualities have to give to us as humanity. And we might ensure that the abuse of women and the abuse of Mother Earth ends forever upon this Mother Earth, for they're one and the same. And we just give thanksgiving and give Creator for all the good things you've given us. I just want to say this prayer of unity, because that's what we want, is unity. Unity. To awaken the spiritual reality of the prior unity and oneness of our human family, related to all dimensions of life, and the hurt of one is the hurt of all, and the honor of one is the honor of all, and the honor of one is the honor of all. Oh my God, you unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal unto them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments, abide in thy law, help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps in thy knowledge, and steer their hearts to their love. Get there, they know to help them. Let me John K. Waller state, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, beautiful meal together. Enjoy yourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So good to be alive. It's a very short time this week, so it's an honor to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Prepare our reading of this evening. D.W. Gregory is kindly sitting there so that I can look him up. Must instead fill in for a sick actor in the Sea Lady, which is their current play, and everyone who wants to see the play, please, you're invited. If you're in New York and you want to see the play, you're invited, so just let me know. Shaikun, our acting president, that wonderful gentleman, who loves D.W.'s work, kindly agreed to read Alex's words for him. As well, Professor of History and Director of Ireland's Great Hanger Institute, College of Arts and Science at Quinnipiac, Quinnipiac University, ICMGLT board member Christine Keneally is ill with COVID. We are very current. We have all the diseases. We have COVID, we have flu, So that's why not every seat is taken. So we wish them well anyhow. ICMGLT Advisory Council member Donovan Brown read her words introducing Declan O'Rourke, our second repair awardee. As you see, they are already totally in the family together. So you already know that ICMGLT is kind, as I said. It's relevant.
They know.
It's responsive. We know how to solve problems when they come up. This event is a milestone, not only because it is the first time after COVID, of course, we are holding awards dinner. Previously, we did it as a small event, such as a small dinner with our advisory council member, Benedict Madison, when he was in town to advocate at the United Nations 10th Review Conference of the parties to the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, or as an addendum to an August 6 Hiroshima Day event, such as with our honorary board member, Setsko Thurlow. You have, in your program, you have some info about both of them. But today, we are holding this celebratory dinner on ICMGLT's 4th anniversary. Actually, so happy birthday, International Center for MultiGenerational Legacies of Trauma. It's leadership around the room and friends. The October 18 was when the IRS approved us. So it's really a birthday given by the IRS. Oh, goody. You see here, no, that's these are different. How about if I stop and sort of go with you here? You see that we are doing many educational events pertaining to all genocides, pertaining to all mass trauma around the world. Yes, this is our last one that I moderated with David, who is here, you see. This is Phil, of course, when he's really dressed up. And, that
we know that.
That's me. Okay. So, we also prepared for those of you, you'd believe that we have board members who don't visit the website. So we figured we will show it here. So our mission, wait.
It's a look, it's a look.
It's okay.
Yes, it's a look.
Yeah, see, they don't visit, and when they see it, they go on if it's fast.
It's a robot.
You see that we keep up the news on a daily basis, all over the world. With the guidance of the United Nations, but not only. Literally, we go through newspapers, and so any one of you who wants us to know something that you may suspect we don't hear from the official newspapers, please let us know, because we want our folks to be really immersed in the present because we really believe that the present is multi-generationally related to the past, but also to the future. Okay, so, and we really, we truly profoundly believe it. So I remember one of my colleagues used to say we should call it remembering for the future. And I agree, it's a very poignant way of saying it. Okay, forget that. So, look how wonderful. Here, he's here. This is Pablo. Son is in Australia, Anita in Israel. Oh, sorry. But Doris, you see, the whole world is actually here. And again, those of you who believe that we're missing something, we need you to tell us, because we do not want to miss anyone. See, Olga, who's Russian, for a while I was very afraid because while we spoke every Friday, suddenly there was quiet. And I was very, very afraid. And I didn't hear a word from her for 4 months. And I was truly afraid. But today she wrote me, but I kept writing anyhow, very happy. Saturday, so today she said, Shabbat Shalom, which in Hebrew means, this is Setsko Thurlow, who received the recognition. He's a Holocaust survivor, Setsko is a Hiroshima survivor. And part of what you will realize this evening is, I'll talk about the library in a minute. Part of what you realize this evening is that many of the people who are extremely engaged with us are those survivors who somehow integrated their trauma and transcended to speak to the world and to educate the world. So they don't just say never again. They choose their mission to make sure that it's never again. One of them is sitting right here. What? I met this girl when she was 11. Fresh from Rwanda. So, look at her. Jonathan is in charge of, how about if we break the idea of profile and just each one of you say 2 or 3 sentences about you, so we create, instead of me talking about you, Andre, you arrived all the way from Montreal.
Well, Montreal isn't that far, but I could not miss this opportunity to be with you guys tonight. I think such an important event. My name is André Laperrière. I think I introduced myself to most of you. What I didn't tell you, though, is that I met Yael some years ago as I was the first executive director of the Trust Fund for Victims at the International Criminal Court. That's where I met many other colleagues as well. So it's nice to be back with you. Thank you.
I'm going to interrupt. It's what I do. I interrupt myself too, so don't get offended. So, Andre is also an expert on hunger and ways of resolving hunger, particularly in underdeveloped countries. So, I insisted that he comes, and with Christine and with Francisco Rosado May from Mexico, they are our working group on hunger. And not just to cry about hunger, but to find solutions if we can come up with them. Pablo, you have a lot to tell.
Yes, but I won't. I am Pablo Gregory. I am completely delighted to be here in your company. I am right now a member of the United Nations Commission of Investigation on Ukraine, and I used to be the first special rapporteur on transitional justice. Yael and I met in the course of doing transitional justice and reparative justice work 20 or 25 years ago. I no longer remember, but that's exactly right. And I'm very happy to be tonight celebrating the work of artists. So thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Roger Clark. I'm a member of the board. I retired last year from Rutgers Law School, where I taught international law, human rights, international criminal law. I've worked with Yael for almost 40 years now, initially on issues involving victims' rights and international law, and more recently on multi-generational issues. So absolutely delighted to be here and to participate in this spectacular awards ceremony.
Good evening, David Donat-Cattel. I am the Secretary General of an NGO called Parliamentarians of Global Action, and been working on victims' rights for many years. With Yael, we were together before the Rome conference. We founded together the Victims' Rights Working Group of NGOs in '97. We did a lot of things, and we are very, very happy. And also, she organized the first party where the person who would have become my wife was invited with me. So that's the most important thing. 22 years ago.
And we are still extremely close.
In spite of that.
I'm Donovan Brown, and 8 hours ago I didn't know about tonight. It just so happened that I traveled to Boston for a work event and was traveling to see friends in the area, and I called Yael yesterday and it went to a voicemail. She didn't have time to pick up, and her voicemail box was full, so I was concerned. I was like, is she okay? And then I called her today around lunchtime. I was in New Haven, and she said, oh my goodness, there's an event tonight, you should come. And I was going right to Brooklyn, so I had to drive in rush hour traffic. There was a point she called me, and I had 4 miles to go, but my GPS said it's gonna take 40 minutes. And that's all this is what I do for a living. I drive here, I listen to everyone. No, I have the privilege of being in the chair of what's called the Ed Johnson Project, which I knew a collection of citizens organized in 2016 to honor our local victims of lynching, and to 2 particular African-American attorneys, one who actually argued before the Supreme Court to save a man's life in 1906, Ed Johnson. Organized work at the cemetery where he's buried. It's an abandoned 26-acre historic African-American cemetery in Chattanooga. I direct what's called the Hoyt & Keller Center for Traumatic Healing, which is a part of the Corey Johnson Program family, which is based in Boston. I do some DEI trainings and some public speaking, and from time to time I realize that everything I do, both civically and vocationally, centers around death and truth-telling and grief and the pursuit of repair. And it's an honor to be here.
Yeah. We will hear more from you later, but start now.
Hello everyone, my name is Declan O'Rourke. I'm here from Ireland, and I am very honoured to be among such esteemed and profoundly caring people tonight, and real heroes of human rights. And I also I'm here to ruin Donovan's day, because he's had to read up about me all day, and he didn't plan to do that. But we're becoming fast friends. I'll hand you over to my friend Bob Williams.
Hi everyone, I'm Declan's +1 this evening. But this morning I was working on, I'm a documentary filmmaker. This morning I was working on a fundraising film for a Paul Newman founded charity called Safe Water Network. There are 2 billion people that still don't have just to fund this water. It's unbelievable, and it's totally unnecessary. But I am the film I'm working on at the moment is called The Nebraskans. It's about a Somali family. I had written about Owali, who was a significant soccer star in Somalia, and in the year 2000. He was part of what was called the Elman Football Club, and they represented Somalia during very difficult times. It's still very terrible there. They traveled through Somalia to preach peace and also play soccer, and I wrote about that peace tour in 2003. In 2007, Al-Shabaab took over Somalia, and anybody that was a celebrity had to flee. And I've been tracking down many of those members and found Owali and his family in Nebraska, and they're doing really well. And it's a great American dream sort of story, and that's what I want it to be, a really uplifting. Immigrants play such an important role in this country. I think a lot of people have lost sight of that, and so it's really a celebration. So, and thank you for all the work that you folks do, because it's really important. In Grand Island, a very small town, about 100 miles west of Omaha. It's working.
My name is Layla Larijani. I'm a friend of Yael's. I'm a financial advisor. So I'm a financial advisor. My name is Layla Larijani, and one of the greatest pleasures I have is seeing the work that I do connect with what is most meaningful in the world. So Yael embodies that dream of mine, and we've worked together for years, and hopefully for years to come, in fulfilling this dream she has, and I'm happy to share it.
Greetings to everybody. My name is Leslie Wright. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I don't know if anybody else is here from Brooklyn, New York, but I am. I've met Yael today for the first time. We've only met on Zoom for many years now, so it's a great pleasure for me to be here. I'm representing a club that I started for Zonta International in Brooklyn. And Zonta International has had an emphasis on violence against women and girls for many years. I really hope to be able to do more work with Yael to try to emphasize our work as well. We really need to, all of us, work together because there's so much that we have to do that we need to accomplish. One of my shortcomings is that I've done so much volunteer work at the United Nations that I hardly know anybody in Brooklyn these days. So I welcome my colleagues who are here. I've been probably going to the Commission on the Status of Women meetings for over 20 years. Used to be, I can give you a whole list of has-beens. I've been the chair of the NGO Committee on the Status of Women, the first vice president of the Conference of NGOs, and have been involved with a lot of organizations and diplomats and working on issues related to women and girls for, as I said, many years. So now let me turn it over to my colleague over here from the UN.
Good evening, Levi Bautista. I am currently the president of the Conference of NGOs in Consultative Relationship with the United Nations, otherwise called Congo. It's an association of 600 NGOs accredited to the United Nations. Last year, they elected me in an unprecedented manner for a third term. But otherwise, this is my 25th year representing the United Methodist Church worldwide at the United Nations, and that's how I come. For all those years, I have come to know friends like Yael. I remember today Elsa Stamatopoulou and Clarence Diaz, your partners in crime in the revisiting of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is crucial to the work of almost all NGOs. And Congo will be celebrating its 75th anniversary next year, and in fact, with the special rapporteur here, just this week alone, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous, of internally displaced people, And then I'll be hosting next week in my office the special rapporteur on North Korea, a new special rapporteur. And just last night in my office as well was a meeting with the chief of the Treaty Division of the Office of the High Commissioner, Mr. Ibrahim Salama, who came all the way from Geneva to brief with faith leaders on a project by the Office of the High Commissioner on the role of religious leaders, not the least in dealing with trauma and historic legacies of racism, colonialism, and many other forms of intolerance. So I welcome very much the work that you do, and Yael, thank you very much for.
Maybe you put him in touch with us.
I'm sorry?
Maybe you put him
Be in touch with him.
with us.
Definitely.
Thank
you.
Lemmy is very humble. He's also a man of faith. And if it weren't for Brother Phil, he would have been the one who would bless this dinner.
Hi everybody, I am so thrilled to be here. I'm Faith Harris, and while I've met Yael or Dr. Daniele and Jacqueline in professional context, I consider secretly Yael to be an aunt from another grandmother. That's number one. I'm an attorney. For many years I've co-chaired the Women's Bar Association International Women's Rights Committee. I just finished my year as president of the Queens chapter, and I have to say that the work that Yael does and that this organization does, I do my very best to share it with my various networks. I've also had the privilege of meeting Andre Le Perrier. I worked as a visiting professional at the ICC years ago. I'm working on a lot of different projects that pertain to human rights, literacy, and I'm just so happy to be here. And I think Yael, you've got me hooked. We'll talk later, but thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Christian,
Here,
you're
can I
here
give
with
you-
us. You have a table. In a minute, you'll introduce yourself. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Murekatete. I'm also an attorney, a genocide prevention activist, and I run an organization called the Genocide Survivors Foundation, which I founded a few years ago. And the mission is to genocide prevention education, as well as providing comprehensive services to survivors of genocide and other mass atrocity crimes. As Yael said, I myself am a survivor of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. I lost my entire immediate family and most of my extended family to that genocide. And I have been one of those survivors who, as Yael says, believe that part of the reason why I survived is to help human beings understand the evil that is genocide, and to understand the fact that the never again that's often repeated has so far been an empty promise, that even today, as we all know, that many ethnic and religious minorities still live under the constant worry of being exterminated simply because of who they are or because of what they believe. So I've known Dr. Daniele for many years, as she says, and I have always admired you for a lot of things, but most importantly, I've admired you and love you very much for the heart that you have always had for survivors, and for the advocacy work that you have carried out on behalf of survivors and helping the world understand that victims' rights and reparative justice is an essential part of any post-genocide or mass atrocity rebuilding efforts. So as a survivor, I wish there were more Dr. Danielis. I think the world will be a much better place. I wish you could get cloned and multiply. But thank you for everything that you do, and I'm just so honored to be in the room with all of you, and congratulations to tonight's honorees. And yeah, I believe that it's going to take all of us.
I want to tell you two things that Jacqueline didn't say. I knew her, of course, she was a girl. Then I met her when she met the man she was going to marry. And I remember for a while they were waiting for the right moment to have children. So I said to her, there is no right moment. You make the moment. And now there are two of them. And they are so cute.
Thank you.
They are so cute. And in our webinars, what's amazing, what Declan does, she asks questions. She literally forces the quote experts to respond to questions that need answers. So for example, because she's a mother of young children, she said, okay, this is a multi-generational question. What advice do you have for us, for mothers of young children, so we don't transfer the past onwards to babies? And because of that, we created another webinar to answer that question further. So, so she's been amazing for all of us. I love you. I love you. Kathleen.
Hello, my name is Kathleen King. I live in the small town of Lidditz, Pennsylvania. I'm here as a guest of my sister, DW. I don't have anything to say about my accomplishments, listening to all of you. I'm just an ordinary person from a very small town. But my contribution that I can think of to tonight was growing up as the oldest sister of 5 sisters, and we also have 4 brothers. I would read bedtime stories to my younger sisters, so hopefully I instilled the love of good literature in my sister and good stories, and she grew up to be a fabulous playwright.
Hi, I'm DW, and I'm not used to speaking into microphones, but
This is not the award-giving thing, so you don't have to say everything.
right. Oh, I just want to say I'm glad to be here. It's a very interesting group of people, and your work is very important. But I'm going to take this opportunity to brag on my sister, who won't brag on herself. She is not just a reader of stories; she's a writer of stories, and she's written a fair amount. She's got some books in progress, and we went to a conference a few weeks ago, and she met with an agent, and the agent is looking at her material, and I think that's worth celebrating. So I'm glad she's here.
Congratulations.
That is big. They go hard. Thanks for bragging on you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rafael Chen. I'm from Israel. I'm Shai's friend. He invited me. Till a few days ago, I didn't hear nothing about your organization. From what I hear here and from what I read, I'm proud to be here. You're doing a great job, and chapeau.
Hi everybody, I'm Dana. Very happy to say I'm a friend of Yael's through Shai and Dustin, who are way more involved and have very more impressive resumes than I do. But I'm a TV producer who designs sports television shows, so not much to contribute to all of your work, but very happy to be here.
My name is Dustin Stein. I'm one of the attorneys that's helped the center from its inception, from Yael's dreams many years ago, and as she said, we were blessed to get our nonprofit status just 2 days,
Totally his work.
4 years and 2 days ago.
We represent.
With many people's help, but it was Yael's wonderful dream. Over my career, I was a human rights attorney, and I've worked extensively on Holocaust restitution issues and helping Holocaust survivors and their children and their grandchildren seek restitution for their real property and personal property throughout Europe, America, Israel, everywhere. And I currently serve as the acting treasurer of ICMGLT, and work on the tax and financial issues for the company, and encourage anyone's companies and friends and family to continue to donate, because we cannot do all the wonderful events that all of you contribute to so valiantly without, obviously, funds. So I appreciate everyone's effort, and I am glad to be part of this, and I hope it continues forever, in perpetuity. I think only Shai, our acting president, is left.
Actually, no, Christian.
I do. This is my legacy center. I know he's here. And everything I have will remain after I go. So I count on you guys to take the perpetuity promise. Christian. I'm so happy you're here.
So, hi everyone. So I'm Christian Shabanu. I'm the policy and advocacy coordinator of the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation, and I also serve as an advisor on the TPNW, so that's a treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons for the permanent mission of Kiribati. Thank you for
Thank you. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shai. I'm the acting president of the center, son of two Holocaust survivors. Everything in the back end of the center is probably I do. From updating the website to the event to help with webinars.
Oh, he did this.
I did, yes, I did the banner. Yes, and thank you, and a few other things that me and Robbie, the webmaster, who couldn't be here, actually provide. So it's a daily fun excursion and a lot of other things. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. After the fact, if one recalled the absurd labors of producing one play, one would never produce the second. At this moment, I'm striving to remember the lines of an incapacitated actor, for I must take his place on stage. I would far rather be seated with you to honor D.W. Gregory, whose play Radium Girls remain fresh in my memory. Recollection, then, seems to be tonight's theme for me, and understanding the importance in our own lives. Those of our families and societies, and those of the inhabitants of the world we share, has always been of central importance to my theater, whose mission is to understand our contemporary life by illuminating our shared past. Recollection, be it painful or comforting, is an inspiration for our future achievement, understanding, and embrace of one another. But cultural recollection cannot be merely to exhibit artifacts or knowledge and feeling from the past. It must be an invitation to experience the subject anew. I believe that theater and art of deeply immersive storytelling is an ideal way to extend that invitation. D.W. Radium Girls came to us as an ideal opportunity to inspire a largely forgotten story of our national past that resonates strongly with our current moment. The play is inspired by the plight of young girls in their 20s who were hired to paint luminous watch dials with radium-infused paint. The painting of them gave the workers devastating illnesses, and their struggle to be even acknowledged, let alone compensated, are the subject of the play. Importantly, the play tells the historical event, though, through a personal story and confrontation. The essential courage of the betrayed girls is primary, while the willful, self-protective denials of their employer are vital and affecting. A young woman grows spiritually stronger as she grows physically weaker, finding a triumphant liberation of spirit in her loss. A self-described virtuose man only recognizes the damage his blinkered ambition had caused when it is too late. Producing Radium Girls in 2021 was to invite our audience to see themselves by living a forgotten but all too resonant history. The play's underlying indictment of our careless bubble and profit-driven culture are bracing. Radium was a dazzling fad and marketer's dream. The company that promoted had nothing to gain from acknowledging its health risks. The thrusting girls had too much to lose to question their treatment until they had nothing left to lose at all. Today we confront daily revelations of a self-inflicted environmental crisis, ruinous food choices, social media addictions, air-dropping appliances, corporate safety cover-ups, disastrous financial speculations, and status quo manipulation of female employees. Illuminating and exciting to our audience, inventive and beguiling as a stagecraft, Radiant Girls welcome us back to in-person performance after nearly 2 years of pandemic isolation. The play could not have better fit the moment of both cautionary reflection and hopeful celebration, a moment of informed embrace and healing. I am only too honored that our fortunate encounter with the play introduces D.W. Gregory tonight. Salute.
To educate and inspire change by exposing the destructive legacies of systemic conspiracies of silence. Thank you.
I wrote a thing here.
Go ahead.
I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say anything, so I wrote a thing that I'll read because I'm not very good at speaking off the cuff. I just want to say I'm honored that you think my work is worthy of this recognition by professionals who are dedicated to the important work of remediating trauma. As a playwright, I like to think that my work has lasting value, but I seldom receive such concrete affirmation that it does. It's especially gratifying because too often in our culture, the arts are dismissed as frivolous or trivial. But this award demonstrates that the opposite is true because it recognizes the power of art to heal and transform. Theater might not offer solutions to the pressing problems of our day, but it most certainly should illuminate them and create a necessary space for the reflection that is essential to taking action. So I wanted to say thank you.
We said to the board, all the board, read the play too. We sent it to the board to convince them to give the award. It's amazing. And we're talking about abuse of power. We're talking about the danger in today's world. As you see, it's all related. So, so Donovan, do you want to do the honors?
Well, it is an honor to be here, and it is also an honor to stand in for Christine. Unfortunately, as it's been expressed, she is sick this evening, so let's hope for her rapid recovery. The International Center for MultiGenerational Legacies of Trauma's Repair Award to Declan O'Rourke for his work on the Great Hunger. Before the coming of the English invaders to Ireland in the 12th century, ancient Irish society was highly structured and sophisticated. It even had its own legal system, the Brehon laws. I asked him about how to say that correctly, I don't know if I got it, which were progressive and comprehensive and explained everything from how a woman could divorce her husband to the way to protect bees and their honey. Within Irish society, while the king was at the top of the social structure, but just below him were the poets, men and women who were chroniclers of history and of life, who crafted words that helped to make sense of the world and to provide a true appreciation for its beauty and its sorrows. The English invaders, this is a little tricky, all right. The English invaders sought to overturn this way of life while depicting the native Irish as barbarous. But centuries of brutal colonization marked by dispossession, marginalization, enforced hunger, and exile did not destroy the Irish people's love for their land, landscape, language, and traditions. Even prolonged periods of famine, persecution, and war did not destroy the Irish attachment to music, poetry, and dance. Instead, these things came to define the spirit and resilience of the people. Perhaps this suffering and transgenerational trauma made the Irish people even more creative. As Oscar Wilde suggested, the English took our lands from us and left them desolate. We took their language and added new beauties to it. In 2022, we are fortunate to be living in a golden age of Irish culture, both amongst artists who live in Ireland and those who are part of her large diaspora. Tonight, we are celebrating two people who are part of this literary and cultural renaissance. The two recipients of these prestigious awards are part of a tradition that dates back over thousands of years. That is storytelling of the highest order. Declan O'Rourke was born in Dublin, but now lives in the west of Ireland, is known primarily as a musician, but more recently as a novelist. At the heart of both skills lies his ability to weave together words, both English and Irish, that can bring us to another place and challenge us to think and feel in a different way. Thus, Declan can transport us back to Italy in the early 16th century to share with Galileo his joy at falling in love, or he could take us back to Ireland in the 1840s to walk us in the footsteps of Cornelius Creed, Padraig Úr Bacala, Patrick Buckley, and others. As they faced starvation and desperation, only a very skilled storyteller and one who has a very big heart can do that. Declan's album, Chronicles of the Great Irish Famine, and his novel, The Pawnbroker's Reward, were brave and unusual choices for a young musician. Talking about the period known as the Great Hunger, when in the space of only 6 years, Ireland lost 25% of her population through a combination of death and immigration. It's painful. In fact, for many decades, there was a silence regarding this tragedy, and this silence has only recently been broken. Declan's retelling of this devastating period in Irish history through the eyes and experiences of Patrick and Cornelius is based on years of painstaking research, of reading history books, visiting famine graves, workhouses, and other sites of suffering, in order to gain an insight and understanding of what actually happened during those dark years. And as a result of his dedication, the stories told by Declan are both authentic and agonizing. But the suffering of our ancestors demands that we listen, and that we engage, and that we heal. And through the process of listening, engaging, and healing, we are more able to empathize with the suffering of the many people in the world today who are hungry, and with those who are now facing a winter of deadly famine. As William Faulkner stated, the past is never dead. It's not even past. But understanding our history enables us to say, never again. Listening to Declan's music and reading his writings is empowering, and his words reach people far beyond the realms of the classroom and the academy. Honoring Declan with the Repairer Award for his groundbreaking work on the Great Hunger is a tribute to him as an artist, a historian, and a wordsmith, but primarily it is a tribute to Declan as a humanitarian. Congratulations, Declan. You are a worthy recipient of this very special honor.
The International Center for MultiGenerational Legacies of Trauma gives the Repairers Recognition Award to Declan O'Rourke for applying his abundant talents and empathic knowledge to convey the horrors of the Great Hunger for generations of Ireland and the world.
Thank you. Many years ago now, I learned through some family research we discovered that my granddad, my mother's father, was born in a place called the Workhouse. It was found on his birth set after he passed. And although we were kind of familiar with the word, most of us, I think, in the modern realm are familiar with the concept of a workhouse through the work of Charles Dickens and Oliver, that kind of thing. So, you know, we had a sense of it, but really we didn't know what it meant for our relative to be born in the workhouse. And I kind of had a personal determination to find out more. I was interested, certainly, and I knew it was something big. And within a short time, space of months, I stumbled upon a book. It was literally called The Workhouses of Ireland. And I say stumbled upon it. I literally walked into a bargain bin full of this book. And I thought, well, here's my chance to find out what this means. I had no idea at the time that the workhouse was an institution that was synonymous with the famine in Ireland of the 1840s. I had no idea what I was going to learn about that period of our history that we hadn't really been taught much about in school. It was like a footnote in the history books. And I didn't know things like that when a family at that time had reached the point where they had exhausted every other possibility, to the point where their only option left was to go to the workhouse. That to go in, they had to plead before a board of guardians who ran the workhouse. A group of local gentry formed the board of guardians and were tasked with governing the workhouse and collecting the taxes that paid for the running of the workhouse from themselves. And they set the rates of these taxes. So a staggering conflict of interest. But more importantly, what I didn't know was that when a family stood before these people and pleaded to go in, the only way they could gain admission was if they signed their X for their abode, whatever it was, to be torn down. It was like a one-way ticket, and which was going to aid with essentially the clearances of land in the advent of the Industrial Revolution. And so when a family entered through the doors, if they were successful and could get in, they were separated into 4 different sections: men, women, boys and girls, not to have any interaction again. And in many cases they were, you know, death houses, charnel houses, and you know, so I didn't know any of this stuff, but opening that book changed my life in many ways. It changed my trajectory and my path as an artist, and it overtook me, because literally on page 1 of that book I read a story. A story is the wrong word for it, an account of one family. In just a few lines that I maintain is still the most powerful thing I've ever read and the most moving thing I've ever read. And it was that of this one family, the Obie family, and the man and the woman had left the workhouse after all of that other stuff had happened. Their 2 young children had died within the previous 2 weeks, and they decided to leave the workhouse and go back to their abode to die in some more dignified surroundings, whatever was left there. And after they left, within a very short amount of time, the woman, whose name was Koch, could no longer walk anymore. She was gravely ill. There was lots of disease. It was probably typhus fever. And so after a short distance, her husband, Padraig, began to carry her. And he carried her a distance of 6 miles on his back. And they reached that cottage and were found inside the next morning dead. And he had his wife's feet held to his chest. The neighbor said, as if he'd been trying to warm them. And to me, that was the most tragic and yet beautiful thing I'd ever come across. And such a combination that it moved me immensely and made me want to share that story. I didn't understand how, as a nation to begin with, we didn't know that story, that everybody didn't know it, and that even around the world people didn't know it because it was so powerful. I thought that in the face of such tragedy, to have acted that way and to show such strength and such care was such a powerful symbol, and in fact a kind of a triumph over everything. It was heroic and it was inspiring. It took me many years to unravel those emotions and what I felt, but and I had along the way a kind of an epiphany, my own personal epiphany, through how that story affected me, of what empathy is. And it's when you experience and come across an account like that, and when you put yourself in those people's shoes, that's how you experience empathy. When you think, imagine that was my mother or my father or my children. Imagine I was those parents. That's when it hits you like a train. And that's why I think empathy is so important, and why it is so important to share stories like that and to keep them alive, because they instruct us. And as human beings, we are humbled and even changed by stories like that, for the better, despite their immense sadness, because they evoke our empathy and they inspire us to hope for and to work for and to expect a better world. And so I am so beyond proud and honored to receive an award that that honors that work, or that kind of work, in a world where a lot of much else is vacuous and commercial, because people thought I was mad as a songwriter to try and release an album full of material about that, you know. And but I think anyway, and I'm very honored to share the evening as an honoree with D.W. Gregory. Genuinely, your play sounds absolutely fascinating. In the last few weeks since I've heard about it, and my wife is a big fan of it, I'm so looking forward to immersing myself in it. And my congratulations to you. As Yael said, everyone in this room, I'm sure, is so worthy, and that is very evident. of any kind of award there is, because what you people do is the bravest work, and I commend you all for that. And so, but I would like to accept this award on behalf of those people who have most inspired me and continue to inspire me, and they are the people I spoke of already, the people who suffered that tragedy, because they travel with me, but not only with me, but they are still everywhere the world over, just with different faces and different names, colors, religions, languages. But for me, Padraig, Koch, their two young children, Sheila and Dermodine, and I won't forget the pawnbroker, Cornelius Creed, and his wife, Priscilla, who are also good people. Thank you so much. Spoken about the same. When I discovered this story, or came upon the account of the Obie family as a young songwriter, that was my way to share it, and so I set myself on a mission to write a song about it. It turned into a collection of songs, which became the album Chronicles of the Great Irish Famine. But a year, some months after that came out, so I was almost 17 years researching and putting those songs together, trying to find similar accounts, because personalized accounts from that time are actually so rare. And and the other reason was I was petrified that if I did it wrong and didn't do it well, I would be torn to shreds by the academics. And as somebody said to me, what academics would do that? But as people like Professor Christine Kennelly,
Yes.
who turned out to be so wonderfully welcoming and generous to me and so kind, and how wrong I was, but I'm glad that I took my time anyway, and I'm so honored that she recommended me, and she is one of my heroes and somebody whose work I absolutely greatly admire. So I'm going off on tangents here. This is not scripted, as you see.
It's your flow.
But so a matter of maybe 6 months after this record came out, and I was touring it with a band. We came to America. I had an 11-piece band, and we played Chicago and Pennsylvania and North Carolina and New York and various places, Kansas, with this music. And one of the last concerts we were doing was in the southwest of Ireland, in the same county that this first story of the Obie family originated from, where they were from. And we played the concert, and afterwards a man approached. He waited until I was selling CDs, and he waited right until the end of the queue, and he seemed to have purpose, you know. And so when we got talking, he said, you know, my father came from about 1 mile from where that family, you know, and I was like, oh, what? You know, tell me everything, you know. In all those years that I'd been singing and talking about these people, I could never find out anything else about them. All that exists is that one account by a neighbor. And so for me, this was huge, you know.
and he ended up, the following night I bumped into him at a play in this town. I had stayed around for a couple of days. And he said, I have something for you. He said, I called my first cousin, who spoke to his first cousin, who spoke to someone in a shop on a corner. And we have established a chain of communication to the people who own the land that they lived on. You know, so within 2 days, I found myself standing looking at the remains of their cottage. And it was literally from that chair to that chair, long, less than from here to the plant pot. They did all their living in this space, but that's where this incredible thing happened. And I was so profoundly moved by being there. And I remember, so you're standing on top of this hill that overlooks the absolute wild, barren reaches of this county. You can see for miles and miles and miles, just sweeping down these plains, and really now even still very, very rugged. And the man who owns the land said, if you stood up here in the wind, it would skin you. And I kind of left there with all of this visceral, other sensory information that I could have never even imagined or accessed before. And I knew leaving there that even though I thought I had finished my work on this subject when I finished the record, that actually I wasn't finished, and it wasn't finished with me. And so then I wrote a book, The Pawnbroker's Reward, which is the first part of, I may as well do a commercial too. The first part of a trilogy. I'm halfway through the second one right now. So, but I shall, I shall sing you a song, the song that began it all. My guitar is suffering from jet lag by the sounds of things. So the song is called Poor Boy's Shoes. And I've already introduced Padraig and Koch and Sheila and Dermody. Again, Donovan, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Yael and all the members of your board, deeply honored. Thank you so much. When he met her at the dance, she had flowers in her hair. There was no girl in this land who could have stood next to her there. And there everyone could see how he loved her instantly, though he had nothing to give her but his poor boy's hopes and dreams. Well, he danced with her that summer till it showed on her sweet face, as she was taken by the warmth of him and all his gentle ways. And then he swore to her his love was true. He married her in poor boy's shoes. Well, not many years had passed through the grip of his strong hands, when a great unyielding hunger drew its veil across this land. His young love soon took ill, and with two little mouths to fill, they took all he could to keep them from the poorhouse on the hill. But when his pockets had run dry from crying tears that rang like bells, and their home drew in the wind just like an old seashell, then he gathered everything he had to lose. He walked them up in poor boy's shoes. First God took the little boy, then he took the little girl, and soon their little souls were free from all the sadness in this world. Their father lifted up his love, she could no longer walk alone, and from the poor house on the hill, he took her on the long walk And there he felt the cold upon her as he laid her down to rest. And so he knelt down by her bed and drew her feet up to his chest. And there he tried